Hi, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Goddess Stories. Today, I have my friend Susan Harrington-Baker with me. Hi, Susan, and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here to talk to us today about
Hello.
connecting with our intuition. Susan, a lot of your work is around spirituality and help people tune in for themselves. I mean, my own experiences with you um, have been awesome. I've done a little bit of hypnobirthing with you, so you helped me with the birth of my two children. And if I rewind a little bit, I remember my first session with you was about really connecting with my soul. Like I remember at the time, I wanted to know if I was on the right path, and I remember it was quite a powerful time that we had together. So how did you come across this kind of work? How did you develop your work? You're the creator of Love Being You. So how did you come up with this kind of work, and who do you work with, and what do you created Love Being You for?
Well, it all started when I was 19, and I won't go into the big long version of the story, but I, I got a spiritual book at that point. I started reading my first spiritual book, and I wasn't really into spirituality. I mean, I was curious about astrology and a few different things, but I was completely tunnel visioned. Like, I'd had no spirituality up to that point, no religion, no, my parents were atheists. I didn't have anyone around me who was into anything spiritual. So I was completely materialistic, I'd probably say, but I was curious. And I started meditating via the exercises in this book. And then something happened to me in one of the meditations. I connected with what I can only, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like it was just the most beautiful feeling, like I'd come home, like I could found myself, like I'd reunited with myself, like I finally found this missing part of me that I didn't even know that I'd lost. It sounds really cheesy when I try to explain it, but
No, it sounds beautiful.
it was so beautiful, and it was so much more meaningful to me than anything I'd ever experienced, and so much more amazing than anything I was up to at that point in my life, which was, teenage stuff like getting up to mischief, smoking pot, and um, getting drunk and partying and, all that jazz. But this, when I connected with that, was like, oh my God, I've made everything else look boring. It was like, wow, this is amazing. And this is it. Like, this is what I'm here to do. It was kind of like I'd just woken up from a dream that I'd been living that whole start of my life. And it was just so clear to me and my bones, to my very core, that I was here, I am here to teach, or to somehow, that spirituality is going to be my field. I didn't really know, the details, obviously, but I just knew that I had to follow that. So I just kind of threw myself right into the deep end and started getting right into it straight away. But I needed, a lot of grounding before I did that. I didn't realize at the time, but I'd totally changed my belief system overnight, pretty much ripped up my roots, of everything I used to believe. And eventually I started feeling like, whoa, what the hell is going on? I kind of freaked myself out because everything was just changing too quickly. And I got really scared about spirituality and thought that I was going crazy, and decided to just try and go back to being normal again. Well, that didn't work. So after a year of feeling really depressed, of feeling like I couldn't explore spirituality anymore because I didn't want to freak myself out, but couldn't go back to how it was, because once you've remembered, you can't unremember. Once you've realized something, you can't shut that realization off and try and pretend that it never happened, because I'd grown like hugely, and you can't ungrow. But I was trying to just go back to the way things were, and it just wasn't working. It felt empty. So eventually I just thought, right, spirituality has to be part of my life. And I started to I joined this weekly spiritual development group and started going into my inner world and meditating and working on myself, and that's when my life started to get super beautiful, and I just felt so in love with everything, so connected, and it was just really amazing. And obviously life has gone up and down since that point, but that's what started it for me. And then I just started exploring everything to do with spirituality, and I think the thing that hit home with me was my ability, well, all of our ability to be able to go within ourselves and to navigate our inner world. Like we all know how to walk around our cities and find our ways around this outer world, but we've never really been taught usually how to go inside and how to navigate that world, that consciousness, our mind and our emotions, and how to work with those things, which is so important. And they are like the control room, like the master reality of everything else. So I was learning how to, process stuff and work through issues and blah, blah, blah. And I learned also how to connect with my truth and my wisdom and my spirit guides, and started channeling and doing things like that at a really early age. And that's, so that's how it all began for me. And where it's kind of led me to now is that I'm now at a point where I'm really wanting to normalize for people that whole process of connecting with your wisdom and using your inner world to help you, and being able to navigate your consciousness through meditation in order to help your life, and talking to your guides and your intuition and those, whatever you want to call that, or that is actually just a really normal, natural way of being. It's not this weird kind of quirky, new agey, hippie trippy, airy fairy way. I mean, I think that if you think that, then you need to open your mind, because there's so much more to us than what we see on the outside. I mean, that's only one little tiny piece of the picture, and so that's my mission, I guess, is to just help people to understand themselves better on that deeper level, and to be able to connect with their real truth and their real gut and their real kind of integrity, I guess, their purpose, and to be able to express that into the world.
Yeah, that's so cool what you just said, because I think it is becoming more normalized, but I think at least I grew up with a sense that that sort of intuition, those gifts were only for a select few in the world, and some were people pretending to have those gifts and leading other people on. And I'd say a lot of the world grew up with that, has evolved with that concept of spirituality, that it is for a select few, and some are the genuine ones and some are not. So in my own journey, I've discovered a part of that inner wisdom as well, also through meditation. So I guess I've shattered my own myths around that. And I think it's really beautiful what you said, that anyone, anytime can connect with their inner wisdom. You don't even need someone else to facilitate that for you. So what are some of the tools that you now use in your work, or what tools do you put together for people, or when people come to see you, what do you find are some of the most useful things you can do to connect with your inner wisdom?
Well, the thing that you need to do is change your frequency, usually, because the thing is, we tend to have this fishbowl kind of thinking. We're angry and we want to resolve the anger, but we're trying to resolve the anger with anger. It's like when you're having an argument with someone and you're both angry, it's not going to resolve, because all that's going to come out of that anger is more anger. And if the two of you went away and kind of sorted your own heads out and then came back together from a higher perspective, the conversation would then be able to move forward. But and we do this in our own lives with the kind of stuck situations that we feel that we're in. that we just get into that fishbowl mentality where we're trying to find a solution within the same level of thinking that created the problem, if you know what I mean. So we're just creating, more of the same energy. So what happens when you go into your inner world and you start to use your imagination to help you to feel better? And that's the key really, is to use your imagination, which is this amazing, powerful mechanism that we all have to help us to feel better. And you can do something so simple like just thinking of 10 things that you're really grateful for, and just as you think about them, your heart starts to open. You start to just realize, oh, things aren't that bad, and you open, you soften, and then you could think, of a beautiful place that you like to visit in nature, and just imagine that you're there and you're really peaceful and you're sitting with the earth and what that would feel like. And when you've done that, you've shifted yourself out of where you were, and you could then kind of think about the issue that you were stuck with from that kind of changed up frequency, and you get different answers and you get new solutions. And another thing that I really, really love helping people to do, which I think is really important, is to connect with their confidence. And in the same way, you can use your imagination in all these different ways to access feelings of confidence that you've already felt in your life that you just kind of don't use very often, but you can bring them back to your fresh into your mind and into your feelings, and put yourself in there like you're really there and really owning those feelings. And then from that place, what would you do? What would be the answer? It's just so simple. It's such simple stuff. But but it's just making it a priority, I guess, so that that you're using it in your life.
Yeah, and I think sometimes some of us relate to those things as something unattainable, or something that one day I'll have if I work really hard at it. Or I can just think back to when I was younger, and obviously now I can relate to, I've got a different perspective on things, but I think a lot of us still think as some of those things as someday, maybe after a lot of work, I can access these things. So what you just said is you can actually just use, but you can use your imagination to start tapping into what's already there, right?
Yeah.
And I remember one thing, one of the things we've done together. So it's going to be my firstborn's birthday tomorrow. So she's going to be 4 years old. And I remember we did some hypnobirthing sessions, and in the guided visualizations we did, I guess you just helped me, really identify where my confident knowing self was. And it's like my confident knowing self was appeasing me, like my egoic version of myself, ego being, my worldly self who's got fears and lives in the past and the future, but not in the present. So I just remember it's like having this motherly figure who's also myself, and you helped me connect with her. So that, it's a really cool thing to get our heads around. Cool. And in terms of painting a picture for people who might like run away from the word spirituality, or might immediately relate this world with all the woo-woo stuff we hear about. So how would you paint a picture for someone, like to describe our spiritual world, our guides, our higher self? Like if you were to describe in a really accessible way how it all works together, what is your take on it?
Well, what I would say, this might not be the answer that you're looking for, but what I would say to someone who, so if I had a client who I knew was not open to spirituality, I can actually get that client channeling.
Yeah, wow.
And they don't know that they're doing it, because it's so we all do it. And what I mean by that is I could get them to tune in their imagination, to imagine a really good friend that they love dearly, that they respect, that they have a beautiful relationship with, and that they just feel like they're really connecting with that friend. And what would that friend say to them at this moment? What would be their advice? And then they'll tell me, and so that's pretty much channeling. There's there's no airy fairy anything involved in that. It's simply just using our tools, which are our imagination and our mind, in order to affect our body. And the truth is, what I say to people who aren't spiritual is just bring it down to the science of it, which is that our mind is the forerunner of our body. And this is super obvious, you know, in things like if you're alone at home in the middle of the night and you hear the noises outside, you start freaking out, you know, your heart's going to start pumping, you're going to think, shit, there's someone breaking in, and then you've got all these images going through your head of like getting raped and murdered, and you know, it's freaking you out, your blood's pumping, you're sweating. So your mind, your mind thinks, oh my god, I'm under threat, you know. It's only a hedgehog outside, but you don't know that, you know. So what you are thinking in your mind, it doesn't matter whether it's real or not, your body will still respond in the same way. So I can be thinking about my favorite food and my body will respond in the same way as, you know, like I might start salivating or something like that, as if the food is right in front of me. So it's using our tool, which is our mind, to create different experiences in our body, and then the you know, the overflow from that rippling out into our life. So if we're constantly thinking fearful thoughts, which are going to be making our body go into you know, that fight or flight response, and having all that adrenaline running through our body, even though the thoughts we're thinking are never actually gonna really be real, but we're anxious and we're worried and we're thinking these things which are creating our body to go into this state, that's not healthy, you know. Living in that freaked out, you know, chemical reaction in your body for extended periods of time isn't healthy for you. It's not healthy for anything. Learning to use your mind to live in more peaceful states of, you know, body chemistry is much healthier. And that's, you know, the scientific way of kind of looking at it. And whether guides or angels or higher selves or whatever are real or not, at the end of the day, who cares? If they feel good and they're making you feel like you're connected and you're loved and you're validated and you're confident and you can do this, then it doesn't matter. Like, does it really matter? You know, if it works for you, then, and it's getting you results, then it doesn't matter. That's what I would say to someone who is, you know, and this kind of work is not for everybody, and that's okay too, you know. It's like whoever's attracted to it and interested in it, there's something there for that person, but, you know, if they're not, then not yet, you know. Maybe never, but you never know.
So what is the coolest thing you've seen someone achieve out of tapping into this sort of using these tools consistently? So maybe in your community, like, do you have a cool story that you'd share with us?
Well, I don't know. There was a lady who came to me one time. I don't know if I can share that story. Maybe I should, because I've already started it. I can't kind of think of one. I mean, there's been so many like little amazing synchronicities in the ways that things have, you know, shifted for people through just changing how they're feeling. But an example is like how simple it can be to just shift your life. Is this woman, it was back in the times of the earthquakes and all the housing problems, and she was stuck in this tiny little shoebox house with her kids and her husband, and desperate to find somewhere to move to, and was, you know, going to all these house auctions and not getting any of them, and feeling just so desperate and frustrated. And so she came to me in that energy of desperation and frustration. So all I did was got her feeling really peaceful, got her out of that desperation and frustration, so connected her with a different vibe within herself that made her feel more confident. And then from that space, what would you do? She had this epiphany of like, oh my God, I've just realized that I can ask this person if we can do this, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the details of it. But she left feeling all, you know, excited and uplifted, and she went home and acted on what she'd realised, and it all worked out, and boom, she shifted her problem. So, you know, it just goes to show you just got to shift out of that way of thinking is really it. It's like that way of thinking that we get stuck in, and just if you can shift out of that for a moment and let some sunlight come in, you can then act on that, and it's amazing what changes for you from doing that. So I hope that's a good enough example.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So since you've got a course coming up that I'd like you to share a little bit about, and I guess it would point to something like that. So your course is about connecting with our inner wisdom. So what is it about? Who's it for? I'd love to, if you could share a little bit about it.
Okay, well, I run a 6 or 8 week, I haven't decided which yet, program on teaching people to connect with their inner wisdom guides, whatever you want to call it, higher self, confidence, and to be able to channel that. And as an introduction to that workshop, which is just really powerful and amazingly transforming for people, I've just put together a couple of free introductory workshops, which are standalone, you know, really good workshops in themselves, but they just give you an introduction into this. If you're interested in using your intuition and your guides more in your life, then, I'm doing a couple of free workshops, and one is on next Thursday night, which is the 18th at 7 o'clock, and the next one is the following Saturday, the 20th at 10 a.m. And they're just going to be covering you know, the introductory basics of being a channel, connecting with your guides, you know, the kind of the science of it, and then a taste of connecting with your own wisdom. And I'll do a little bit of channeling too for the people who are on the workshop. So it'll be really fun, and it'll just give people a taste into the kind of work that I do and how easy it is to connect with your wisdom. Yeah, so that's it really.
Cool. And is there an exercise that you'd like to share with us that we could all do together? Something simple to get us into that space. I think confidence really is a great word that you use, because I feel, you know, in the Goddesses in the World community, obviously it's mostly for women, although we've got a few men who are part of it too. But I do feel us women, really confidence is something that we tend to lack, or like, it's maybe more evident in the way we express ourselves in the world. So is this something that we could do together now that would help us tap into that confident self? Yeah,
totally. And so I'll just do a quick, like, 3 to 5 minute meditation with you.
Cool.
So if you close your eyes, and I just want you to think about something that you want to resolve in your life at the moment. So maybe there's a question that you've been trying to get the answer to. There's a frustrating situation that you want to bring light into, something that you want a bit of advice about, or something like that. Just think of something that you would like some clarity on. And then imagine yourself somewhere beautiful in nature. So really putting yourself there in your imagination with all of your senses. Feeling the earth under your feet. Breathing in the fresh, gorgeous air. And smelling all the fragrances that are here. Just really connecting with the scenery. And letting it just soak in and make you feel super relaxed and comfortable. And going for a walk in this beautiful place. Enjoying the feeling of the sun. The temperature is just perfect for you, the perfect weather. You're going for a walk, you've got nothing that you need to do, no appointments or obligations or anything like that, just time and space as though you're on holiday, so you can just let everything relax. As you're walking through this beautiful place in nature. And up ahead on the path that you're walking on, somebody's waiting for you. And this person is just another version of you, but he is slightly more confident than you are at the moment in your life. Just a little bit more confident, not way over the top or anything like that. Just a little bit more confident. As you're walking towards this version of you, you can tell that she's a little bit more confident. She's standing a bit straighter. Her clothing, the posture, the expression on her face. So as you're walking closer to her, miles, and you embrace each other in a hug. And as you do so, you merge together as the one that you actually are. And you are now owning that extra level of confidence within yourself. So you've stepped into her shoes, you're looking through her eyes, and you are that slightly more confident version of you. And keep on walking like this, feeling this way through your beautiful place in nature. You have a gorgeous scenery, feeling good, and up ahead on the pathway, there is another slightly more confident version of you waiting there. And she's a little bit more confident than the last one. You can just see it in her eyes and in her face, in her posture. Walking towards her now. And as you reach her, again, she welcomes you with a big smile, and you have a hug and you merge together. And as you do, you are stepping into her shoes. You are becoming her. You are looking through her eyes. Your body is now her body is your body. You are one. You are that slightly more confident version of you, and you just keep on walking now, feeling that confidence all around you and through you. And walking ahead on this pathway, looking forward, there's one more confident version of you waiting there, up ahead. And she's getting pretty confident now. Imagine what you would look like at your peak of confidence, when you're feeling really good with yourself, good with your body, happy with where you are, loving yourself, appreciating yourself in your life. Imagine her there in that space, and you're walking towards her. And then you step into her as she gives you a big, warm, welcoming cuddle. Step right into her shoes. Your heart is aligned with her heart. Your eyes are looking out of her eyes. Feel that natural feeling of confidence that is yours all around you. Enjoying that feeling, really making it as strong as you can. And then thinking about that issue you'd like clarity on. What would you now, from this confident space, what would you say to yourself, or what would you advise yourself, or how would you see the situation differently now? Okay, and then just starting to come back to your body, remembering where you are, what day it is, closing your fingers, taking a deep breath, having a little stretch, and coming right back.
That was so cool. Loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it really does take you somewhere else, doesn't it? It's so cool.
It does, it really does. And it's so easy and it's so simple, and it doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be very, 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 very basic. So did you get some extra clarity on whatever it was that you were?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I already knew the answer, but hearing it again from that place is like, oh yes, yeah, I can do it. I can, that is what I need to do. So yeah, it's cool. I think also, yeah, I got quite creative as well in how I saw myself, and it's quite cool, just that in itself. What I look like and all of that. It's really cool. So
Cool.
look, to wrap up, I'd like to just ask you, what is something you wish every person knew about themselves and the world?
I really wish that everybody knew that we're not alone, that we really, really are one with each other. I know that sounds like cheesy and way out there, but at the core of myself, when I'm really feeling connected, that's what I feel like. I feel like we're just in this together. We're all one thing, we're all one thing. And however you experience that is the way that you experience that. But you're not alone.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here today. And we will share some details about your upcoming courses, and I hope people check you out because it's awesome work. I'm doing one of the free classes myself. So.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So, thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.